Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique, and today we're going to be checking out Bassynth from Alchemy. This is a truly great sounding Kontakt library focused in and around, of course, bass. And in this video, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. Usually on this channel, when I make videos, I'm kind of doing a couple of different things, but primarily I want to give people who have purchased the plugin from pluginboutique.com a sort of starter guide on getting started with that plugin. So it's a run through of the parameters, it's a run through of how to do certain things. And then I also do video tutorials on how to do just that, a specific thing with a specific plugin. The last couple videos on this channel, for example, are how to make energetic drum and bass percussion with a delay, and then how to make an FM bass with a synth. But in this video, I'm going to play you a few projects that I made with Bassynth because the bass sounds were just so good that when I got it, I just kind of went on a tangent and just started making tracks. So what I'm going to do is walk you through these different tracks, and then when I get to the last one, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through very quickly the basic gist of Bassynth. But really what I want to do is just show you some real world examples of how you can use this synth for your project. So this is the first project I have here. Okay, it's just a very beginning of a track, but the idea is solid, I think. And this is the instance of Bassynth I have. And that clicking sound is in fact the sidechain compression. If I turn that off, it's just a really great sounding bass hit that instantly gave me sort of these dark, eerie vibes, and I just took it from there. But literally on each one of these tracks I'm about to play you, Bassynth was the first thing after I put in some very basic drums, and then the Bassynth drove the idea from there. Let's move on to the next project. All right, so this is the next one. It's a kind of like, I don't really know, it's drum and bass, but kind of like a chill out style drum and bass. I'm not sure how to classify it, but I really dig what I have here, and I'm excited to take it to the next level and actually flesh this track out into something like an actual finished project. In fact, I have two instances of Bassynth on it. This is the main one. And then I have this one. Now, the reason why I've separated it here inside of this project was because it actually was just the one here. If I unmute this one, you'll hear how that subby bass is behind there. That's coming from this wavetable analog square. But what I wanted to do was use that same one, but I actually inputted some MIDI that was a little bit different. So if you listen to them together, I gotta come in here and mute that again, but so I was just adding that extra subby bass hit there, but the actual preset itself is what, again, drove the creativity for this track. And if I jump in here to the performance, there are actually three main tabs here, and I always do this, but I'm just love to explain things. This is actually really cool. Essentially, you have a set of macro controls rather that are all routable. You can route pretty much anything inside of here to this macro page, and then you can move this around and it will actually change the tone and the feeling of the synth hit itself or the bass hit. So you can really imagine, especially on this particular preset, how that can be used to add a build up or a breakdown and so forth. The design page is where you can add your samples together, and there is a massive library of samples to choose from, all of these different types, and then there are subcategories and actual samples to load in. Just a huge library, and then you can have up to 4 of those. And if I just run through the different levels here on this particular one, let me go ahead and solo this again. So we've got the analog square sort of bass fundamental, a sort of almost like a hi-hat, and then a lower level or a mid-frequency kind of snappiness, like for a transient on the kick or the hit. And this is my favorite part, the show me the organ. It just sounds so good. So that being said, before we continue to run through the synth, let's check out another example of how I've used Bassynth in my projects. All right, this is a very simple example. I kind of went off on a drum and bass tangent with Bassynth. The first one was the last one you heard, then I came to this one, and then I actually pretty much completed a track, which will be the next example that I show you. But this one, I really would like the acoustic feeling of the bass. And I really like how it's pushed off to the left, but the subby part is still centered and sounds really good. It's called Army of Mute. Again, really, really great. It's got this really great tape and saturation distortion on here that sounds absolutely fantastic. But I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because it's a pretty simple example. Let's move on to the next drum and bass track. All right, so this is the other one, and I'm not going to play through this entire thing. I'm actually just going to move this over, and if you actually watch the drum and bass energetic percussion tutorial I did, you would have already heard this, but this actually has a few different instances of Bassynth inside of it. Let's just go ahead and check out this part. All right, so the first instance of Bassynth inside of this project are these kind of big percussive brassy hits. And again, on this, I've muted the sub that's originally part of the Intoxicated preset, which sounds absolutely fantastic if you're making some sort of trap or something, or some sort of hip hop that you want that bass there. And I believe this is actually sidechained, or I did some automation on the level there. So the first hit is a little bit softer, and the second one's a little bit louder. But that's the first instance. And again, that's not bass. I didn't use it as bass, but it came from Bassynth because of that really big percussion brass hit. Love it. And then the main bass was this one right here. And again, if I come in and remove that sidechaining, I don't know if it's the same preset from the first drum and bass example that I showed you, but I really, really dig it. The synth has really been an inspiration for me in my workflow, and I'm just wanting to show you actual real-world results that I've gotten from the synth itself. Let's move on to the next example.
Original Dandada. They bring the smoke, we are burn the fire. Original Dandada. They bring the smoke, me I burn the fire.
All right, so this was yet another project that I used Bassynth on. Now, in full disclosure, this was actually a project I had started before I had Bassynth, but I remembered it and figured I could use Bassynth inside of it, and I did, and I found this really, really cool patch. Let me come in here and remove the sidechaining. Now, I did add thermal on this one, so I have done a little bit more than on the other ones, but this was the original sound, which I mean is just a phenomenal sound anyway, and it's only using 2 of the inserts that you're allowed inside of Bassynth, but then I added this thermal on there just to add a little bit more aggression, a little bit more dirty energy, if you will, to the track, because that's kind of what the track is all about. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal synth. And as I said, we've got the design page or the performance page here, which allows you to route any sort of presets to these macro controls, and those macro controls will be controlled inside of this square, this XY pad. There's the design page. This is where you do your sample stacking. And as I said before, if I come in here, there are a ton. There's synth samples, oscillators, wavetables, 808s, and subs, bass guitars, acoustic stuff, noises, and transients. So everything you need to combine into a really great bass sound is inside of there. The sample library is massive. It's a 10 gigabyte download, just to give you an idea of scope. Then you have your tone page where you can come in and you can smart EQ things. You can add some lo-fi or drive. These are kind of standard effects applied to each one of the inserts. These are very common to add on bass. And then you have your further control over the effects for each one of the inserts down here. You just come in here and you have all of these effects to choose from. You add one, then you have these, and then you can do your routing if you want. You also have sends. Here we have chorus and reverb on those, and then we have master effects. And then if you come into the mix, this is where you can do your mixing. This is where you control your send values to the send effects that you have set up. And again, just a really robust system. There's also a motion page where you can actually do some step sequencing in terms of automation right inside of the instrument itself. I haven't used this in any of my projects, so I'm going to kind of leave it as it is. It's pretty straightforward if you've used any sort of step sequencer to automate any instrument before. It's a great feature, and I'm happy that it's inside of there. But as I said in this the beginning of this video, I wanted to do something a little bit different and just show you how I used this synth. Let me know if you liked the video style or if you prefer this sort of, me coming in and creating a bass patch from scratch, or me coming in just playing presets. I want to know what you guys like, and if you're still here at the end of this video, let me know in the comments what style of video you guys want to see on the channel. I'm here for you, so let me know your opinions. They're valued and they matter to me. So anyway, I'm Joshua Casper here for Plugin Boutique. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.